Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom, I'm David Mencer, Israeli government spokesman. A short update from me and then over to your questions. It's Monday, the 15th of July, day 283 of the October 7th war. On our hostages, Hamas still holds 120 hostages, men, women, children, the elderly from 24 nations enduring horrific abuse for 9 months now. Last week I reminded you about Agam Berger, aged 19 years old, taken hostage. Today I want to remind you that Nimrod Cohen was taken hostage to Gaza on October 7th from Nahal Oz. Nimrod's family is from Rehovot. His twin sister is Romy Cohen. They share a birthday. That birthday is today. 20 years old, 283 days of captivity. 120 of them need to be freed. Israel will not rest until they are all home. Hamas will be destroyed together with their terrorist threat to Israel, and we will return our residents securely to their homes in the south and the north. As the Prime Minister said on Saturday night, the war will end only when we achieve all our goals and not a moment before. Now to sad news of IDF casualties, 682 since the start of the war. Master Sergeant in the reserves Valery Chefonov was 33 years old and from Netanya. He was killed in combat in the north of Israel. There are no words of mine that can assuage the pain of their parents and their families. We embrace them and those dear families who have lost precious heroes, sons and daughters in this war for our existence. This war has exacted heavy costs from us, none more than the families of our soldiers and especially our fallen soldiers. There is still a way to go to victory. More days of fighting and difficulty await us. But as the Prime Minister said, I promise you, with unity, determination and faith in the justice of our cause, we will fight, and with God's help, we will win. May their memories be a blessing forever. Now an update from COGAT in their work coordinating aid into Gaza over the last 24 hours. 211 aid trucks went into Gaza via Kerem Shalom. On aid collection, only 8 aid trucks were collected from the Gazan side of the Erez crossing, and 103 were collected from the Gazan side of Kerem Shalom. But, as usual, more than 1,100 trucks are still awaiting collection. You know, international leaders come and go through Israel and they tell us about the necessity of unrestricted aid into Gaza. Well, here it is. Israel gets it in. UNRWA seems hell-bent on frustrating its distribution. Nonetheless, 6 tankers of gas and 4 of fuel went in for essential infrastructure in Gaza. Out of 18 UN coordination requests, 17 were approved, and out of 45 general coordination requests, 41 were approved. So in conclusion, COGAT are focusing on 4 key areas: clearing bottlenecks of aid waiting for collection by UN agencies at the Kerem Shalom crossing, improving medical responses inside Gaza, improving sanitation, sewage, waste, water, facilitating movement for humanitarian organizations. Since October 7th, more than 42,000 trucks have delivered more than 791,000 tons of humanitarian aid into Gaza. That's more than enough food to feed all of Gaza's residents. 80% more food compared to prior to October 7th. And we are expanding our efforts all the time to get more in. So that's the end of our briefing today. I will now take your questions, which you should put in the chat together with your news outlet. Thank you very much. First question from Jim Williams from Zenga. Can you confirm that Prime Minister Netanyahu will meet in Washington before he addresses a joint session of Congress? Thank you, Jim. It's not quite clear who you asking about the Prime Minister meeting inside Washington. We haven't announced the schedule for the Washington visit by the Prime Minister, but it will be coming out before the trip, and we will keep you updated about the Prime Minister's movements in the US. Next question we have here is from David Clement from the News Forum. On Saturday, the Prime Minister said there still wasn't absolute certainty on the killing of Mohammed Daif. Can that be confirmed at this point? Thank you for that question, David. I haven't got anything more to add about confirmation of that fact, but let me just say, first things first. Hamas murderers are dead men walking. On Saturday night, as you mentioned, the Prime Minister said that one way or another, we will reach the entire Hamas leadership. Now, Hamas targeted Daif based on precise intelligence data. He was in a compound where two senior Hamas targets were hiding. The arch-murderer Mohammed Daif, who was the Hamas military leader, and Rafa Salameh, commander of Hamas's Khan Yunis brigade. Now, Daif was hopefully, the Hamas chief of staff, the number 2 in the chain of command. It was Daif who personally planned and led the October 7th massacre, and many other additional terrorist attacks. His hands are literally soaked in the blood of many Israelis. Now, ahead of this action, measures were taken to minimize as much as possible harm to civilians and uninvolved persons. Our intel was that there were no hostages in the compound and no hostages were harmed in this action. Now, just a reminder, these were Hamas senior operatives from the military branch of Hamas. They had personal responsibility for planning and carrying out literally hundreds of terrorist attacks against Israeli citizens. Crimes against humanity, brutal murders, rapes, and the kidnapping of civilians carried out as part of the terrorist attack on October 7th, 2023. Any civilian casualties, which they were, are directly attributable to Hamas. They repeatedly violate international law, all the principles of human morality. They systematically exploit civilian structures as human shields for terrorists and as cover for their terrorist actions against Israel. Okay, any other questions? No other questions? Well, if that's the case, thank you very much for joining us today. We'll have the next briefing tomorrow at the same time. In the meantime, do please stay safe, and thank you for joining us. Bye-bye now.